Recently on our Good Morning Shorts, we've questioned, shall we say, a lot of the fantasists that are out there that like to sort of play with toy soldiers. Today, we're covering one in such individual, one Scott Ritter. Now, of course, he was a former US general in in Iraq. That's fine, but I'll tell you this now. Every single time we cover one of these types who bizarrely are incredibly pro-Russia and like to ignore what essentially the will of the Ukrainian people is. And as far as they are concerned, on a world stage and a global stage, what the people of Ukraine actually want does not count for diddly squat. As far as they are concerned, Russia just gets to do whatever the hell it wants. Might makes right, because it just does, apparently. And this is one such interesting conversation, because obviously a lot of people like this were probably very surprised that Ukraine had such a dramatic victory in the Kharkiv region, because they were and have been predicting for the longest of times that Russia is basically at any moment, in any number of videos that people like this guy or name any other members of this sort of fraternity of fantasists, believe that at any moment this giant Russian horde is just going to descend upon Ukraine and just wipe it out completely. And they've been predicting that since day one. And in some cases, many of them, even before the war happened, were saying this war's never going to happen. Putin would never go to war in Ukraine. It's ridiculous. But here we are. Now, I'm not sure if he was claiming that, but I know there are certainly a couple out there who were claiming that. But I haven't looked back in this guy's, videography back past enough to see that. So what does he think is going to happen? Well, he basically says that Russia is not going to stop until they basically achieve the full capitulation of Ukraine. And I'm going to play just this clip because I think this clip shows you just how much this guy, as we said, seems to sort of care about what the people in Ukraine actually want. And we'll be discussing that after that in a moment. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And of course, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So, on with this. So, in a recent interview, this seems to be a snippet. I don't know where he was doing this interview for, but this is a little snippet that was taken from it. But anyway, we'll play it.
Is a situation where you have a demilitarized zone where you have a viable Ukrainian military on the other end shelling civilian cities and towns. That won't happen. So this war ends with the total surrender of Ukraine, at which point in time Ukraine decides to totally capitulate is up to Ukraine. If they want to capitulate after Russia has taken Novaya Russia, fine. But if they want to continue to fight, then Russia will take the fight to them and will destroy them. The Russians have made it clear. Demilitarization means the total, not annihilation, but the total dismemberment of this NATO military that's being built. And believe me, what's in Ukraine right now is a NATO military. Russia is a...
And he babbles on for a couple moments about, oh my God, it's all NATO, it's all NATO. But I want to focus on that comment. The complete capitulation of Ukraine. What does this actually mean? Well, it basically means that Ukraine would become completely subservient to Russia. That is what the Ukrainian people are fighting against. That is what they do not want. You've actually seen, because of that stunning victory up in Kharkiv, you've seen increased partisan activity behind the lines. They do not want to be part of Russia. These sections, which are all of suddenty saying, oh no, we want to join part of Russia. Up until now, the line has been that, oh, these are just breakaway states. It's fine. They'll just be sort of buffer zones. Russia won't annex them. You know? And now we're going to see these sham referendums basically performed at a point of essentially a gun barrel. And of course, what's going to happen? Well, it's exactly the same thing that happened in Crimea. We will probably see a referendum victory of absolutely staggering proportions. We will probably see that apparently the population will vote 99% to join the Russian Federation, when many of the people in those areas have fled from the Russian invasion. So the idea that this is acceptable is a complete non-starter. And then what about a demilitarized Ukraine? Well, essentially, as we said at the beginning, this basically leaves Ukraine subservient to Russia. They will never be able to do anything. The Maidan protests in 2014, which overthrew a pro-Putin president, a pro-Russia president who wanted to sign a trade deal which would have basically made Ukraine financially subservient to Russia. If there are ever protests about that again, well, guess what? In rolls the Russian military, which ultimately will happen, and well, you can guess what the consequences of that are going to be. And yet, nothing, not one single bit is ever considered of what the people of Ukraine seriously want. They've been moving away from Russia since the fall of the Soviet Union. This the Kharkiv, the lower southern region, near I think it's the southern region up near Crimea. They voted overwhelmingly back in the day to join with Ukraine, not with the collapsing Soviet Union. And yet now you're going to have a referendum, basically a point of a barrel of a gun to say, yeah, do you want to join the Russian Federation? Or maybe do you want to join the Russian Federation? I think that's completely, unfair. But once again, it just goes to show you the absolute fantasists that people like this guy are, who do not seem to represent or even acknowledge that Ukraine has a democratic or even will of its own that it would like to do. As far as they're concerned, Russia is just the stronger party and it just gets to do whatever the hell it wants. And then you have to wonder, is there any reason why it's so desperate to join NATO? Because it doesn't want what is happening today to happen again. And here's the thing, Scott, if you ever are up for a chat about this and you want to talk with me, I'm more than happy to have a chat with you, my friend. I'm more than happy to have a chat with you. Let me know, but something tells me you won't. But there you go. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.